for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips. No taxes on tips. It's called no tax on tips. No tax on tips. No tax on tips. No tax on tips.
Now, you might have heard Trump's latest policy proposal is no tax on tips, but like much of what he says, it turned out to be a hollow promise. According to a new report, most US workers who rely on tip incomes would see no benefits from a tax exemption. According to One Fair Wage, 66% of tipped restaurant workers would not benefit from tax exemptions on tips because they or their households do not earn enough to pay income taxes. The group said it falls too short of having a real impact and fails to address the fundamental issue facing working class Americans, the need for a stable living wage. According to One Fair Wage, the report's key findings include tipped restaurant workers earn a median income of just $15,198, a mere 37% of the national median income of $40,480. Over 95% of these workers earn less than $53,000 annually, with nearly half earning below the federal income tax threshold of $13,850, making them ineligible for significant tax benefits. And the proposal does not address the core issue of higher wages and economic insecurity. The sub-minimum wage for tipped workers, currently $2.13 per hour federally, perpetuates economic instability, high rates of sexual harassment, and poverty among workers, which tax relief on tips does not address. Ted Cruz also introduced no tax on tips that would also deliver little relief to tipped workers. Last week, the Center for American Progress published an analysis that found Cruz's bill is deeply flawed. In addition to excluding 95% of low and moderate wage workers who are not working tipped jobs, it contains few, if any, guardrails to prevent high-income professionals such as hedge fund managers from shifting their compensation to a tax-free tipping model. Ted Cruz's No Tax on Tips Act gives a far larger tax cut to hedge fund managers, lawyers, and other high-income people who recharacterize wages as tips and get a 0% income tax rate. Of course, with everything Trump says and does, there is a catch, and it looks like this is just a proposal to create a new giant loophole for their wealthy donors.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
Sharon, what do you make of this?
It is creative and just disgusting. And it's as if, and it probably would feel better if people like Cruz and Trump and the think tank behind them would just give people the middle finger and say, we're doing it because we think you're stupid. That's what they're doing. They're saying the quiet part out loud, let the rich get richer, and we'll throw a few little crumbs that'll disappear. Maybe there's disappearing crumbs in La La Land somewhere, and you won't get anything. In fact, it'll be worse for you. You're actually gonna be in a worse position. Instead of raising the federal minimum wage, why not do something pleasant for a change? Trump doesn't tip. We already know he doesn't pay workers for their labor, for their materials. So I don't know why anyone would listen to this guy.
Yeah, I'm absolutely not surprised that there is a outsized benefit for the wealthy in this, for people in finance or for people who can exploit an already porous tax code. And of course, there's nothing really tangible for working people who do rely on tips All this does is just shift policy and focus away from a system of tax fairness and making the wealthy pay their fair share toward a system where, hey, we're going to create new and inventive loopholes for the wealthy to exploit. It is totally bogus. I'm glad people are calling it out. And I hope in a potential debate, as this will surely come up with Harris, she's ready to debunk this, because nobody, no working person who relies on tips should believe this is a legitimate policy promise. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Do you have anything else to add, Sharon?
No, I think you summed it up beautifully. And the person who takes real action, but also articulates what you just did to get the word out to the masses. I can see a young waitress, a single mom who's thrilled to hear certain things and then will come up empty if, God forbid, this man gets back into the White House. So it's just going to be about the messaging. And I hope it's on point to reach the masses.
Yeah, I hope so. We will cover this, I'm sure, a lot on the show as it continues.
When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?